Uh, you know, I was going to cover this a while back, but I never gave it any thought, and I just ran across it, and I was like, all the theories and all the craziness. Look, there's one story here, and that's it. All the other stories are a fragment of the original story. This broad, the death of Elisa Lamb. That's, first of all, that's a misnomer, which means the name is not telling you the correct story. If they're telling you that's her name, that's not what that is. And so there's one story. It's about power. The disconnect from the original one, which was the last Let There Be Light, was really the explosion that cut us off. So it's been about staying alive, like the song by the Bee Gees, staying alive, okay? Keeping the power going. Who's going to control it? That's the story. All the other stories are just fragments of that story. We don't have anything really before that except biblically and maybe in some other religious texts from other, like the Muslims or whatever. They're all going to be the same thing because they all come from the same source. That would be the angelic realm and all of that shit before the big boom, the big bang, and the disconnect. Okay, I showed you in the video just before where that bomb says there was, and let there be light, boom, and it exploded. Well, that's representation of the story. So this woman, first of all, we know it's about power, so that takes the mystery out of it. Okay, the death of Elisa Lamb. First of all, she died. She was found in the water tower. In the water tower. Water, the Saturnian water. Of this. And you can see it on the ground. The Cecil Hotel. Okay, if you look over here, we know it's about it's that feminine power because here is something she wrote, and it's in that yellow and pink. If we look at this picture here, we see the pink, and we see the pink and yellow. We also see here the grading. You see how it's making the pattern like energy. So this is about energy, like it always is. The name Cecil. Where have we seen that recently? Where have we seen that recently? In Africa. What happened in Africa? Cecil the lion. Cecil the lion. Remember Cecil the lion that they shot? The lion. You know, the one that what's hanging on oh, what's his face's friend? Jordan Maxwell, David Icke's wall, the lion, Jacob, Saturn. It's about power, okay? It's about power, all right? That picture I just showed you in the former video with the Saturn alarm clock, Sabian languages, Cecil. Who is Cecil? Who is Cecil? Well, I'll tell you who Cecil is. 1 second. A cartoon I used to watch when I was a kid, Beanie and Cecil. Who was Cecil? Cecil was a sea serpent. The serpent. The sea serpent. Sea, as in sea. Energy. In the cartoon, it says here, featured Beanie, a boy, and Cecil, the sea-sick serpent, embarking on a series of adventures, often to discover ancient civilizations and artifacts. That's all about power. Who's Beanie? Who's Beanie? It's what the Jews wear on their head. It's a yarmulke. Okay? Now, this name of this woman. Now, let me just go a little bit farther. This should give this away. There's your 3. This word right here is not the name of this woman. This woman never existed. Because, again, it's about power, and I'm about to show you how they pulled this fucking shit off. Bear with me. Here it comes. I took her name, Elisa Lamb, and I wrote it out in what would be Arabic. It's Eli Salam. And let's see what happens in this Arabic cartoon of Eli Salam. Huh? See? Eli Salam. Alyssa Elisalam. It's all a play on words. Watch what happens. Let's see what happens.
ابتعد بنو إسرائيل عن تعاليم التوراة وأقبلوا على الدنيا ينعمون فيها فضعفت قوتهم.
Notice the color combinations. The yellow, the pink or the lavender, and the blue. So we know this is the whole feminine thing, the Saturnian thing. But let's watch.
وهزموا من أعدائهم وطردوا من بيوتهم وأصبحوا جبناء يخشون القتال في سبيل الله.
So what's this here? Looks kind of reminiscent of another group of people who claimed to have this thing called the Ark. You know what box Indiana Jones was looking for?
مرحبا بكم. الأعداء يطمعون في مدينتنا وقد ضعفت همتنا ونتعرض للهزيمة.
إن البركة تأتينا من هذا التابوت الذي يحوي حكمة موسى عليه السلام. ما دام معنا فلا نخاف.
معك حق ولكن ضعفنا.
I'm pretty sure they're talking some shit about what are we going to do with this thing because it ain't safe here.
قد يضيعون والناس يعيشون من أجل لذة الحياة فقط. لن نضيع هذا التابوت فنحن بدونه لا نساوي شيئا.
Even if that thing represents a crypt or whatever, what you're about to see is pretty much reminiscent of what everything that's been going on with this group that claims to be the chosen ones. Let's watch.
لا يوجد البكاء يا ابني، إنما العمل والعمل. فالأعداء هزمونا وكسروا هيبتنا وأخذوا منا الكثير ولم يتبق سوى مدينتنا الجميلة وهذا التابوت.
لقد أصبحنا على مقربة من المدينة. سوف تدمرون كل شيء ثم تأخذون منه التابوت.
سيدي جالوت، وماذا نفعل بالتابوت؟
أيها الغبي، إن بني إسرائيل.
Yeah, I bet you can. Oh, did he say the magic word? Did he say the magic word? Wait.
أيها الغبي، إن بني إسرائيل لن يهزمهم.
Well, it sounded to me like he said the word Israel. Interesting.
إلا هذا التابوت ففيه ما بقي لهم من نبيهم موسى، فإذا أخذناهم كسروا وشعروا بغضب الله عليهم. سنحصل على هذا التابوت ونقتل كل من نقابله. فلنتحرك الآن إذن.
Look, it's the claymation version of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So we know it's not a coffin. It's not a coffin. It's this reminiscent thing of the Ark, I'm sure. There's the lion's head up there on the one side of the pillar, and the other side doesn't have anything. There was that word again. She said the word Israel. I heard it.
وشعر بنو إسرائيل بالهزيمة وتألموا كثيرا لضيف.
There is no broad named Elisa Lam. It's Eli Salam. This whole fucking thing is about power. That's what all of this is about. Them passing code about where the power is. Cecil the Lion was in Africa. That broad that was in the fucking water tank. First of all, water represents Aquarius. Okay? Here, let me show you something. Elisa Lam. It's Eli Salam. Dopes. At the end of in the New Testament, the disciples asked Jesus, when does the end come? And Jesus pretty much tells them, he says, follow the man with the pitcher of water. When you go into the city, you'll see a man with a pitcher of water. When that time comes, you'll know that that's the end. That's your cue that the end is coming. The man with the pitcher of water is Aquarius. Okay, that's the water bearer. The woman that was found dead was found this Elisa Lam was found in a water tank. Okay, it's Eli Salam. It's not Elisa Lam. The age of Aquarius is the golden age and the return to Saturn. It's the end of the cycle. Follow the man with the water pitcher. If you go look up the astronomical symbol, or astrology symbol, Aquarius is the sign of the new cycle, and that picture of that symbol is a man with a water pitcher. There was no woman that was ever found in a water tower. That's all made up. It's all about power. It's about fucking controlling the energy here. It's only one story. It's just one fucking story. That's all it is. It's Eli Salam. It isn't Elisa Lam. The fucking 3 gives it away. The water, the death. It's the end of the cycle. This whole thing, the Cecil Hotel, Cecil in Africa, it's about where the fucking energy is. It's about the end of the cycle. It's these guys, whoever they are, talking to each other or leaving clues for each other. I don't fucking know how this thing actually works. I can see bits and pieces of it, and that's all I can pass on to you. That's why I was like, Elisa Lam. First of all, Chinese people don't name their kids Elisa. L is always going to be Saturn. I don't give a fucking rat's ass what language it is. So at first I thought L is a lamb. And then in Christianity, Jesus is the lamb. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then I was like, Elisa Lam. And I put the 2 words together. And then I went and found Elisa Lam, and I found that little cartoon where they're going in and they're stealing the ark. And the ark represents power. And if you read about in the Bible, remember, God killed the guy that touched the ark because it was falling off the platform and he grabbed it. And so God got mad because he touched the cube and it killed him. Kind of like the Manhattan Project where the fucking thing of plutonium, the demon core, was going to roll out of the thing and he touched it and it killed him. It's all the same fucking story. It's aggravating. It's aggravating because it always comes back to the same thing. You should see the fucking, the shit, the directions people go with this, because they don't understand. It's just one story. I mean, look at this picture. What idiot stands there like this? Michael. And what's her name? What's her name? This is great. Michael and Sabina, both 27. Sabina. That comes from the, hang on, I'll get it. Sabina. That's interesting because it goes back to the video I did just before this. It goes to this, the Sabian language and alphabet. So Sabina or Sabina comes from the Sabian language and alphabet. Sabian also has a thing to do with pleasing a woman's, her private parts, which is interesting because, let's take a look. This was written on the water tower that she was found in. Fecto cunt her summa. Summa. Sabian, the word Sabian, is affiliated with a company that makes sexual pleasure toys for women, like dildos and stuff. Okay? Summa. Summa. I heard that word before, and I had to go back a couple of years to find it. And I found it, and it makes sense now. Do you remember this dimwit? Well, she's not a dimwit, she's passing code. Listen to what she says. Remember how everybody was like lost? Listen to what the places that she states.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because
Sama. Summa, sama, it's same thing.
people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as South Africa.
South Africa. Okay, what's with South Africa? Summa and South Africa. Okay, hang on, I'm going to show you. South Africa. Cecil Rhodes was the same Nazistic thinking. During the colonial period, archaeologists and whatever regarded the so-called tribal cultures, the sub-Sahara African, that's in South Africa, as a living museum. Back to Beanie and Cecil. The Yamaka and the serpent. The most spectacular example is provided by the controversy surrounding Zimbabwe ruins. Early white investigators of these monuments saw them as proof of the ancient white settlement in southern Africa. By the Sabians or Phoenicians. Cecil Rhodes appreciated the propaganda value because he's a fucking white supremacist. Okay, so the Summa, like the dumb broad was just saying, let's go back to that twit.
Like such as South Africa and Iraq, everywhere.
South Africa and Iraq. There we go. Phoenicians, Iraq. Remember? What's going on in Iraq? Shock and awe. Sheck and awe.
Like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian.
So that's the United States being involved in both places by helping them.
Countries, so we will be able to build up our future.
Yeah, so we'll be able to build up our future, you fucking scumbags. This shit is never ending. It's one story. It's all about power. Period. Without question. Undoubtedly, there may be a billion different things going on here, but they're all tied to one fucking thing. That's why this alarm clock with the fucking star of Saturn on it. The Jews, the Sabian language and alphabet. The fucking Jews want all of that stuff. It's all about power and controlling this fucking power. Not governmental, electrical power. The Cecil the Lion. That's fucking Saturn. The Cecil Hotel. Cecil Rhodes. Rhodes was a fucking offshoot of Phoenicia. There wasn't no broad in there. They're talking about her cunt and Summa and the Sabians. It's all about creating energy. It's all bullshit, this story. Yeah, I don't expect people to get this that are reading it out of a newspaper. It takes years and years and years of being able to see the story over and over. Some of you guys can get it. Some of you guys get it. Some of you don't. Everything these guys write is in reference to this, to the original story, because that's all we got. There ain't nothing else. I could go on with this for another fucking hour, but I'm going to leave it right there. The colors give it away. The names give it away. The ages give it away. The Sabians, the Cecil Rhodes, it all adds up to the same thing. Elisa Lamb. It's Ellie Salam, you fucking douchebags.